Hello and welcome to Samvad. Today we are going to have wonderful conversation around art and his influencer. We are going to talk to Samir Sinha. When it comes to Ahmedabad, whenever you talk about influencer, the first name came in my mind was Samir Sinha. He's been art lover, art collector, and besides that, he wears many hats. If I start reading his profile, I don't think I'll be able to finish the interview. So I'm just gonna share few things about him, and I would like to do justice to this lengthy profile. So Samir Sinha started his professional career in Chicago, working for multi-million dollar infrastructure projects between 1992 and 1996. On his return to India in January 1996, he established Savvy Infrastructure along with his two college classmates. In 1996, Savvy has been established and earned a huge reputation in real estate arena in Gujarat. Savvy has built projects net worth 1,500 crores, including 3 million of square foot area of residential and commercial projects. Along with that, 900 acres of golf township, Gainesville Golf Course and Country Club. He also wears many hats as chairman of CIA, Green Building Council, Indian Golf Union, council member, TAI Ahmedabad, Singularity University Ahmedabad chapter founding member, YPO Gujarat, ex-membership and chairman and lot many others. Today, we are going to talk to Samir, who has also been, a witness to our journey when we started Abir India. He has been great supporter, admirer, friend, and philosopher to Abir. So I would like to welcome Samir Sinha one more time. Welcome, Samir.
Thank you so much. It will be such a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah. So since we said Samvad is mostly a conversation, and when I start talking, it's difficult. So I hope you try and talk as much as you can. So these days whenever
I'll try my best. I can't promise that, but I'll try my best. I
so
would rather listen
when
to you than talk, but
no, here we are here to do conversation, so it cannot be a monologue for me. So yeah, so these days whenever we meet somebody, the first question we ask, what did you do last summer? So of course we know the last summer was a bit difficult for everybody, and in fact for everybody. So uh, it has I have come across very different answers for that. So I would like to know what did you do last summer, how it has changed you as a person, and when you look back, what can you say about it?
very interesting question. I think it is something that everybody has kind of grappled with over the last 1 year. But since February or March last year, I think what I've done the most and also enjoyed the most is cooking. And
Oh,
I have cooked a lot. I have I have started cooking, and my kids who didn't live with me then came back because of the COVID, and then so right now in my house we have that full family. My wife and my both my boys are back home. So and I continue that passion. I still cook at least once a week.
oh,
That is something that I've not done in the last couple of decades. So that I really enjoy. But my all my staff at home hates it because because then I make a huge mess, and I'm a very difficult cook. So I use all sorts of ingredients that they're difficulty finding, and then I start using every utensil in the home. So there's a big mess left behind. But I do enjoy cooking, so that is one thing that I've done. The
so
other thing
cooking.
that has, I think, what has really transformed me over the last 1 year, very interestingly, is I've become a very much, not very, but a much calmer and a much more comfortable in my skin kind of person than I used to be before. I think the lockdown has had this effect on practically everybody, I'm sure. But because of the whole boredom of being indoors and not being able to do too many things or not travel, I can't believe that I've not stepped out of Ahmedabad since March last year, which is very difficult for me to believe for myself. But in the process, I have become very comfortable within my skin. I have become much calmer than I used to be. I think I have learned to deal with anxiety much better because nothing is more. I'm not more. I'm not anxious about anything else as much as about the health of me and my family and my kids. So if I can deal with that, I think I can deal with anything else. So yes, I've become much calmer and much more comfortable than before.
But I have always known you as a calm and comfortable person. But anyway, the cooking is the
That's
relevation.
only because you don't work with me. People who work with me have a very different story.
Okay, in that case, cooking is yet to, yet to come and experience. I don't think I want to around you when you're working if you're saying that.
That's
so,
true.
so how do you see 2021 shaping up, playing out? We are talking on a digital platform. We being in the same city, we are not able to see each other, or rather, we prefer to do it like that. So that's a new normal, new change which has, which has been part of our life lately. So how do you see what else would change in 21 professionally, work-wise, work ethics, work habits? How do you think it has changed?
I think the biggest change is that we have stopped traveling, and that to me is the biggest loss. If I look at the negative, I think the biggest loss is that we are not experiencing different places and different cultures and different peoples like we used to. So I hope that that comes back very soon. I hope my biggest hope for 2021 is that we are able to travel, if not as much, at least to a large extent, back to where it used to be, because I feel personal growth comes only from, at my age and my stage in life, I think travel and exposure to different cultures and countries is the best way to grow. So that I miss the most, and that I wish that changes. I think 2021, I'm very, very positive and very hopeful about the future, because I don't think things can get any worse. So it's only going up from where we are. The economy is going to bounce back. I think there is positivity in everybody. Whether the vaccine everybody is able to get or not get, I think India definitely has been very fortunate that our experience with COVID has been very, very, very moderate, and we are not experiencing the kind of problems that some of the developed countries have. So we have been very lucky in that sense. So I'm very positive about the next year, and I'm really hopeful that things will get much better. I think what it has impacted our lives in many, many different ways. I think the way we operate has changed, the way we do our business has changed, the way we interact with our people has changed. I mean, think about it. We live in the same city and we haven't been able to meet in a year. I have met the same set of 8 or 10 people for the last 1 year. We haven't physically met anybody else. So it's a huge change. It's and things are coming back to normal, but I think still people are very, very careful. It'll probably be another at least 3 to 6 months before we can.
Right? So you
But things
said
are getting much better, and I'm very positive about the future. Very, very positive.
so you said that cooking helped you maintain your sanity. So it is a kind of a art. Cooking is an art, and we are Pothi. We talk about art, and we want to enhance conversation around art. We want to celebrate art. We want to understand art, and we want to engage people in conversation who can contribute in the same objective. So of course cooking helped you remain calm and maintain your sanity. So let's talk about art. So what is your relationship with art otherwise, let's say post covid and pre covid? Your relationship with art, it has changed, or it's same, or you've always been this person, or how what role art has to play in your life? I mean, because I've seen you visiting a lot of art, uh, art exhibitions, art centers. You've been a buyer, you've been a collector. You collect art from, in fact, all over the world. So, what is your relationship with art besides cooking? Of course, cooking is an art, and you talked about
So the
it.
only reason I said cooking is because I can't paint, and I wish that I could paint. If I start painting, people will stop talking to me. So that is why I do what I can, which is still cook something, and however bad it is, at least my kids will be forced to eat it. But as far as art is concerned, I think art to me, my relationship with art has been the same. I don't think COVID. One thing that COVID could not affect was my relationship with art. So that way, I find it is at a very, very. It's almost at a esoteric level. It's at a level where I connect with things that I like. I appreciate most things which are the finer, what that life has to offer, which are fine, which are arty, which are good design. And I'm actually, I like design more than anything else. I think I like design, the effort that goes into designing something, the effort of proportion, the scale, the colors. So to me, design is a big factor of life. I think, uh, and design will impact our lives more than anything else. Design has the power to mold us, and our way of thinking more than anything else does. So a simple good piece of furniture, once you experience the good design, will change the way you experience furniture, and the way your comfort level is
So,
changed. If you look at a good coffee machine, for example, if you can appreciate how it's designed and what the way it looks and the way it functions, it's a great experience, and you will be then suckered into using those kind of things. A good design, well-designed car, for example, right? So anything that is designed well will have a great impact on changing our lives, and nothing else is impacting our life than design does.
uh, you know, since you are into infrastructure industry, you create big buildings, huge buildings, and you talk about aesthetics. And so how do you it pans out, or what response do you think an infrastructure or a construction company holds, because they are going to capture the landscape of a city? And what do you think a role of a company which has a huge profile, uh, uh, social, when we talk about aesthetics? Because you said first aesthetic should be your design, it should look good, it should have a calming effect on people, and you are also adding the same design on the landscape of your city. So what else when aesthetic comes? We have to talk about art. So and you've been a great, you said you miss traveling and you've seen all around the world, and in Singapore and in few countries, like 30% of your total budget of your infrastructure project, 30% should go behind art or something like that, and that is why we see huge art installation in front of huge buildings. You think there should be some major disruptive changes, I may say, if I may say that, should be introduced to the industry, so that we can make art as a part of a project, or and maybe we can create a infrastructure which really help city and give city some beautiful art installations, or maybe a public art. What do you think about that?
So the second part that you mentioned is the most critical. You see, unfortunately, art cannot be forced upon people, and art is not something that we can mandate or put in the bylaws or say, okay, if you spend so much budget on art, it will do the trick. It may not, because if we put a budget like that, we might end up building more uh, um, Deepra circle kind of art in our city. So I mean, for the benefit of the viewers, Deepra is a leopard in Gujarati, and there are these circles in Ahmedabad which have animals in them. So there is
No,
a deer circle.
we are only allowed to talk good things about our city.
They're nice. No, but that's the problem. That is the challenge, Ruby. You and I may not like it, but obviously there's a large population that likes it, and that is why it is there. So the onus is on the appreciate people who appreciate good art, or who can bring better art to our society. The onus is on them to expose the people to better art, and that will happen over a process. It cannot be done overnight, because your perception or my perception of art may not be the right art for our country. So though I might like something, does not mean everybody in India should like it. And that is why public art becomes such a big challenge. And over a period of time, we will have, but then what has to happen is that it has to be enough. There has to be exposure. And that is why something that we did in our buildings even 20 years ago was start putting some sort of public art in the common spaces. Even if it was only by my choice, but eventually people will see it, people will like it, they might do something different, they might criticize it, but at least it will become a topic of conversation. At least people will notice it. And then there will be a need for art in public spaces. And that, I think, the owners, what you said in the very beginning, that as real estate developers, as architects, as builders, as designers, I think the responsibility with us is huge. We have to bring about that change, and we have to start with ourselves. I honestly feel like it says in our Hindu philosophy that there cannot be moksha without a guru. And in our profession, in the real estate development profession, the guru is the architect, and the moksha can only be brought about if the architect is has the convincing ability to the developer to say this is what is good, this is what should be done, this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad. The developer is a very money minded animal, honestly speaking. And he can only think up to a point, and beyond that, he has to be handheld and dragged. Some are more inclined, some are less inclined, but it has to happen, and it's a process.
So I had the other day we were talking to Aniket Bhargava and he said that if you introduce art at design level, then probably it's easier to convince client. You cannot see art as a surface level thing. So a lot of learning happening in this conversation for me as well. So when it comes to public space, you said that it is something you have to do as a responsible company, and you try and do that on personal level when you acquire an art piece, or on personal level when you see an artwork, how do you engage with it how do you buy an art piece? Let's say if you want how what are the triggers, which makes you do or makes you spend time with that art, or maybe wanting to acquire that art? So what are the triggers? What do you seek when you see an art piece on a personal level?
What appeals to me, I think, the way I look at art is I do not look at the signature. I only look at the painting or the sculpture or whatever it is, right? And I don't want to bias myself with who's painted it or what is the value of this art. And so that is why I never go to a gallery with a brochure. Uh, but then once I like something, then I would worry about it or think about it. And then what excites me the most is to have a conversation with the artist about what is the story behind that. So I am a sucker for stories. I think we are all here. No, at the end of our lives, we will all be stories. So we better make it a good one. We have to be an interesting story at the end of it, and everything that we encounter should have a nice story to it. So if there's a painting that I connect with, and that has an interesting story about the perception that the artist had in his mind about how it matches or conflicts with my perception of it, what it means to me versus what it meant to him. His ethos might be totally different. The scenario that he's trying to convey might be totally different from what I perceive. But if it makes it interesting, if the conversation is connecting at a different level, then I am attracted to that art.
So I'm loving every bit of the last two sentences you said, because we are here talking about unheard voices of India. They are not yet become the signature, but we hope and we pray and we want to work towards that direction, that they all become a signature one day. So when we
Sure.
represent artists, young artists in Abir and Abir space, Abir India and Abir space, both of the foundation and the Abir space has a very different objective to it, and we are very sincerely working towards it. So when a senior person, a senior curator or a senior art enthusiast or some senior buyer, when they appreciate and when they buy art, it suddenly changes the scenario for the artist. Now the problem of our country is huge. It's a huge country, and we are not. And art has always been, seen as some elitist thing. So how do we make this major shift from art for everyone, from art to for particular hobby? So that shift needs to be done. That bridge needs to be established, and hence the conversation with people like you. So when we are trying to establish this bridge, uh, we are wanting to understand that as a young foundation or young company who is working with young artists and they are not yet signature, what do you think we should do in this new normal? What do you think as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, what advice would you give a young company like a space? Because it's new to us. We are trying to work very hard, and we must take advantage of your experience. You're very successful. Your profile says that.
So thank you. I have many ideas on this, but the first one is that art needs to become more affordable. I think what is happening with us is that we are sometimes overpricing ourselves out of the market. I have been, and I'll give you an example. I have been visiting the Maharaja Sayajina University Faculty of Fine Arts. They do an annual exhibition, and I've been going there every year for the last couple of almost like a decade or so. It is amazing to see how one Lalit Kala Academy Award and the price of the artist goes from I mean, I don't want to put numbers, but it kind of quadruples. What that is doing is it is exactly what you said. It is making art elitist, which is exactly what it should not be. Why should art be elitist? Why are we forcing? I mean, think about it this way. Ruby, you know, and your husband is an architect, and think about all the houses that are being built in Ahmedabad where people are spending lakhs of rupees on doing the interiors. Think about how many genuine young artist paintings are going into those houses. Very, very few. People are hanging prints, people are hanging posters, but because there is not enough exposure, or maybe because they are sometimes overpriced, we are not able to tap into that huge market of homes. You know, the housing industry is a huge industry in India, and it is still growing at least 10 to 15% a year. Think about the number of houses that are growing in every city. Every small town is becoming a city. Every city is becoming a megapolis. And all that is being added is houses. And each one of these houses will need nice aesthetics. So they will need nice furniture, they will need nice cupboards, they will need a nice bar, they will need nice paintings. Where is all that going to come from? Why are we forcing people to go for digital artwork, downloaded from the internet, printed and framed? All of that is a huge market. Again, two or three things, like I said, one is pricing, and I could be criticized for that. I understand. I am all in favor of artists making as much money as they can, but they are sometimes overpricing themselves out of the market the minute they get a little successful. Second, I feel that there's not enough forum available for them to buy art. Where do they go? That is where I really applaud your kind of portal, which can connect them with artists, which can connect them with young artists. Thirdly, I feel that there is so much potential in the young artists of our country. I have been coming to your exhibitions every year, and I'm amazed at the kind of artists that you have been showcasing every year from Jharkhand, from Orissa, from down south, and the caliber of their art is so amazing. I would not, I would encourage our people to look at these young artists and use them in your housing instead of doing this digital print kind of business. So yeah, I think it is the exposure.
So exposure. So post COVID, the first realization we had was when we cancelled first take 2020, and when my inbox was being filled up with thousands of profile. We realized there is a huge gap. There is huge gap. They have no other place to showcase their work, and it is not only COVID related problem. It has been there forever. If some artist, I have an artist called Seven Roy, and he's from Mizoram, and he said in 7 hours car road distance, in that circumference, there is no art gallery or no art center. So we realize and we see it and we see this as a need of an art. But of course, when the moment you say we are a digital platform, we are catering to globe. So a person maybe sitting in Finland can buy an artwork from an artist from Sarafali. So this is huge, and as you said, we see is a huge potential. But when we are presenting our contemporary Indian artists to the world, you think we always say that you see a lot of potential. You think there should be something which they should be careful of, or we should be careful of, or because see, they are not going to be googled by name, so they are yet to create that name for themselves. So the moment we say Indian contemporary art, it has a huge. When you open a huge picture, I know there is an artist from Goa would paint differently from artists from Mizoram. So you see very diverse kind of art. So you see to compete with this global contemporary artist, what should a young Indian artist should do? They should not look at Western art, or they should look at Western art, or they should remain rooted to their own craft. What do you think it's way to be?
I
You
think
know?
I think they should look at every possible kind of art. I think we are in a global village today. It's no more the era of Indian art. It's global art. Today, I can buy. I just recently, like I was telling you earlier, I came across this artist called Max Gunther from Germany, and somebody forwarded me his paintings. He does digital. Actually, he does a it's a digital painting, but he does some great mixed media work on. Somebody sent me a link on Instagram, and I actually started following him, and I'm impressed with his art. So now I don't think we are we are restricted by geography. But at the same time, I do understand that we have tremendous potential in India, and we must encourage that. But the kids need to expose themselves to as many different kinds of art as they can. They need to assimilate what they can from that exposure, and then the quality of the art they produce will improve. So no, I don't think they can. I mean, you can. And there is a huge market for traditional rural art. There's a huge market for tribal art. There's a market for modern art. So there's all kinds of things out there, and if we can provide them a platform with like what you're trying to do, and give them enough exposure, I think it's like there's going to be a appreciator and a buyer for each kind.
You've been really kind and giving a lot of compliment, and we are going to work very hard towards it. The last thing which comes into mind, you said you bought a artwork and by looking at Instagram, and it is a very very reassuring that oh, what we are doing is right. Because if you would have asked me before 4 years, I would have said no, not the online gallery. You go to art place, you engage, you see, you experience art, and then you buy art. I was that person. So when it comes to when we felt that we should come up with something like that, I had to convince myself first. But the moment you said that, I bought something from Instagram, so it is very reassuring that, yeah, we are changing our habits, we are changing the way we look at art, we are changing the way we experience art. And it's going to be a new phenomenon. We are no more missing those spaces where the huge artwork is hung on a wall and you are looking at it from a distance. So it is very reassuring. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with the German artist. Uh,
Can I can I add here one thing, Ruby? So
yeah,
I think what will have to change now is the way we display the art. I mean, on the portals. If you look at traditionally all the online art portals, they showcase the painting, so you can zoom in and see the painting. What needs to happen, I feel, is that you need to showcase the art in a perspective. So it has to be hung on a wall with furniture so that you understand the scale of the art. It is very difficult for a layman to realize what is a scale, what does size mean. If you tell them it's 4 by 3, they don't understand what is 4 by 3. So if it can be displayed better, even if it is done, with Photoshop or with something like that, but it has to be in scale. So the imagery is very important once you get into a digital platform. So instead of displaying just the picture, if it can be displayed so that the perspective is clear, so that the size is clear, then that will really help things.
so, so you are suggesting the how you experience art on the screen is also going to play a very, very key
It's
role,
going to be a huge factor. Yes.
huge factor. Yeah. So
See,
I think
just like mannequins, white clothes are put on mannequins so that people can visualize what will the clothes look like. Similarly, we will need to make that extra effort to make it convincing for the home buyer to say this is how it will look on your wall.
yeah, of course. And I think I don't know about the website portal, but that experience can be created once you identify some artwork because there are different
Sure.
kind of mechanics involved when you design a website. But then you are there to cater and help that person to buy. So that can always happen at the second layer of somebody trying to engage with art.
You are in the digital world now. There's limitless possibilities.
I believe so, and I really appreciate that you said that because uh, when it comes to technology, I have all my life I work with brush and canvas, and I work with a primitive medium. I work with natural dyes. So for me, I used to get scared of technology. I used to feel that it's something not for me. But then I realized the power, immense power and potential it brings in with it. So thank you so much for giving some wonderful advice, some amazing insight about the business because that is what we are not very good at. So thank you so much for doing that. And you also mentioned the floating art galleries, which was amazing, which was again an amazing idea that day. So I've just made a note when you were talking that day that it just came last. So uh, when you say floating art galleries, so what we talk about digital art galleries, we talk about the conventional old art centers and art galleries. But I want you to talk about the idea of floating art galleries because that day you mentioned, and it's very unique and different kind of a concept. So why don't you talk
No, so
about
this
floating?
is this sure. I This is one of my pet peeves with gallery owners.
Oh,
Uh, so I have been saying this to all my gallery friends and also to the artists. There are so many empty spaces in our cities, and these are nice, good open spaces or indoors. So, for example, every building foyer. For example, the entrance of a theater. For example, the walls of a restaurant. For example, the airport, the railway station. There are so many public spaces. And what are the walls of these public spaces decorated with? Nothing. Nobody's paying attention to these. So why can't we have a collective of artists, local artists if you have to be, young Indian artists if you have to be, pick a theme, pick a flavor, pick a style, pick a whatever, and it can be a group of artists displaying their art on a wall of a restaurant for a month, and then that moves, goes to somebody else's place and goes to some other this thing. It can be displayed for free. The gallery owner, I mean the artist, I mean the building owner or the restaurant guy will be more than happy. It is looks nice. You're giving exposure, and I mean even if you have to pay for it, you are still exposing the people, the masses that will eventually end up buying this art. So it is our duty as somebody, like they said, if you give them cake, they need cake. If you give them bread, they need bread. So it is about what is the kind of exposure that you can bring to them. So I think it is our onus is on us. The duty is ours to be able to find ways to expose people to art.
Thank you so much for sharing this because we need to come out of that hang up that art needs to be showcased in a particular way in particular places. So I think it
So,
also
for example, that I'm sure that Bombay, we have this huge murals that artists are doing, right? There's some of that happened in Ahmedabad also. Why couldn't we do that on every bridge pillar instead of painting them in these garish flowers? And I don't know if you've seen the new bridges in Ahmedabad or in so many other cities that I've seen in Bombay in the flyover. All the columns of the bridges are either left untreated or they are painted in some strange color that the municipal corporation has decided to do. Instead of that, we could have brought in those artists and made them a public space and use that.
yeah, I think so, and I think a lot of people who are able to do that are hearing us. I don't know if
I
they
hope
are,
so.
but we try and do that and try and reach out to them. So I think it was wonderful talking to you, and as usual, a lot of insight, a lot of interesting suggestions, uh, lot of personal sharing, especially your cooking skill, which we are not knowing and not aware of. So it's been
Thank
wonderful.
you.
And it was again very reassuring interview because you talk a lot about how you go through this digital platform and look at new artists and this thing. So it was very reassuring to know that. So yeah, so we would like to conclude here, but thank you so much for your time and uh, all the things you shared with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank
And if there's anything thank you so much. Thank you
you.
indeed. Anytime. This is something I enjoy very much.